Merci Seb.
Yes.
On est en live, so that's good. All right. Hello everyone, good to be with you. We are on YouTube, we're not on Facebook yet, so for those of you on YouTube, welcome. We are broadcasting live from here, Montbonneau. This is the suburb of Grenoble in France, in the southeast of France. I'm Frédéric Brun, I'm one of the two founders of Arturia, and I'm running the company. But I'm not going to be the only one talking today. Seb is with me, Sébastien Rochard, that many of you know, I'm sure, he's been product manager on PolyBrute. And we have also Thierry Châtelain, one of the lead engineers on the project too. So today we're not going to be detailing all features. We're not going to be going into every detail of the unit. It's more about why we made the synths, why we made it this way, what led our design choices, what you can expect from it, really. And probably to do that, I'll start by getting back to the start of Arturia. That's going to be short, but if you know and remember, we started as a software company. And throughout time, we did a lot of software recreation of classic synthesizers. The first one was the Moog Modular, and that helped us a lot really understand what we liked about each of the synthesizers. So typically, some could be great with in terms of sounds, some could bring more simplicity, some could bring more expressivity. CSAD, for example, is one that we saw compared. I mean, the PolyBrute was compared to the CSAD on different threads on forums. And yes, for sure, it's a huge inspiration for us to see the Polyphonic Aftertouch, to see the ribbon controller, the way the sliders, their shape actually, the way they're dispatched as well, displayed on the interface. You do certain things because the CSAD has been laid out this way. And that's very clear if you look at the Mini Moog, for example. There was at some point a Mini Moog in rock, and there's a real Mini Moog. Many of you know that the sounds people got from one or the other were really different because of the interface. So we spent really a lot of time looking at what made those interfaces really, really unique and interesting for us. So the day we started making our own analog synthesizers with the Mini Brute, we really had an idea about that. Our goal back then was to open analog synthesis to a larger audience. So our idea was to offer something pretty simple, straightforward, with a singularity in terms of sound. So we picked the Steiner-Parker filter. We started working on the first oscillator that you'll find on the other Brute afterward. We had this special form factor, this sort of small brick, this square brick with a short keypad and great price as well. So all this helped very much get us on the map of analog synths. With the Matrix Brute, the goal was a bit different. The Matrix Brute, we were inspired by the modular systems. For sure, we were huge fans of such instruments as the Moog Modular, for example, the sonic possibilities and the sound of it, everything you can do with the modular, which is just outstanding. And the question we asked ourselves was, how could we make a modular with presets? And that's when we started, looking at different options, and that drove us to the Matrix that you find on the Matrix Brute, on the PolyBrute as well. Even on the Microfreak, you have a Matrix too. And eventually, this choice of the Matrix was pretty solid, pretty good, because we realized that it was first a very convenient way to program modulations, quite straightforward. But we could also use the Matrix from different other things in the synths. We'll see that later on, recalling presets or programming sequences, etc. So it's been really a good module for us to embed on our synths. And from Matrix Brute, we saw things evolving, and we decided to make a polyphonic synthesizer. I'm sure many of you were anticipating that. We thought, what is important for us in this instrument? And one of the inspiration was acoustic instruments. For a long time, we've looked at some of them. The piano, for example, for instance, is such an amazing instrument because of its simplicity. It's extremely easy to understand how a piano works, and still, from a musical standpoint, and the expressivity you can get from it is just infinite. So, how could we imagine a synth that will offer this same kind of immediacy and depth at the same time, ease of use, but at the same time expressivity? So we put a lot of emphasis really on expressivity, trying to develop specific modules towards a direction. Maybe we can have a first sound that you could play, Thierry, to sort of outline that and show where we do that.
Yeah, so let me just find my sound. Okay, so expressivity, probably it starts with the performance controls, and we put a lot of them of different nature on the Polybrute because we felt that you need different gestures to express different feelings, to express different things. So if I take an example from the intro movie, where at some point I needed some kind of dramatic effect, where I used the ring mode. I felt I needed a ribbon for that, so let's hear that. So that at some point I play that. And you know, I'm making some kind of wave gesture, and for that kind of effect, I just needed an ample movement. I couldn't get it from a knob or for a wheel, so I just needed that kind of performance control. And at another point in the movie, I needed to dive into the sound with more bass, like that. And for that, Aftertouch, it is great because you just dive into the chord you're playing.
Yeah, it's more feedback, and you've got this sort of harder move to make to really create this.
Yeah,
this
the gesture
sound.
makes sense with what you're wanting to do.
Yeah, you're true. So the controls have to work well with the effects you're looking after.
Yeah.
And some way the controls will also help create certain performance, certain effects on your sound and drive your performance too.
Yeah.
So that's been core really to the idea.
Yeah, I have a last one that I liked a lot also, which uses the Morphe. At some point I needed to make the resonance sing like that. And this gentle gesture, I feel was
the right one.
Yeah, it was the right one, I think.
The right one for what we wanted to do. And you true, I mean, we were mentioning the piano. I was playing the violin when I was young, and yes, this idea of an acoustic instrument has been really present in our discussion. When you play the violin, the instrument it's really body to body. You feel the vibrations. You can really smell the wood or the colophony. You really have this sort of intimate relation with the instrument. It's a very sensory experience in a sense, and we wanted to port that a bit to a keyboard, which is much more difficult because the keyboard is really apart. It's more distant in a sense. But if you feel the roughness of the wood on the Morphe, I mean, all of them are. That's what is it? Chestnut. I think it's
dark walnut.
Dark walnut. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry about that. All the wood here is pure dark walnut, and all of this feeling really is making really the experience a bit more again based on senses. Also, our approach toward turning knobs, this gesture, this approach we've had since the start that we don't want people to dive into long menus or look down into settings for a long time and be some way stopped in their creative flow, but more empowered by turning knobs and having everything they need at their fingertips. This very hands-on experience has been really core and central to our approach to designing this instrument. It's something very strong. So yes, controls, but also one key point in Polybrute is really this morphing, which is central. Maybe we should talk about that early in this presentation.
Yeah. So morphing, for those of you who don't know about it, morphing is, well, in the Polybrute, it means that for each preset, we have an A sound and a B sound. We have two sounds, and we're able to morph from one sound to the other continuously. And it means, for example, this is the morph knob here, and it means when I turn that, all the knobs and the faders are moving along with that. To
another position. So they have a starting point, which is like the preset A, and the ending point. So it's like a super set of modulation in a sense. Yeah,
that's it. And I think it's a great tool for expressivity because in the end, when you make a gesture, you want it to affect the sound in a, let's say, wide way. I mean, it's not just turning one parameter. You maybe need several parameters, maybe many parameters to move along with your gesture. And morphing is great for that. So, for example, if I just play that chord here. You see, it's a soundscape that evolves like that.
Yeah, I see. I mean, there's one benefit with the morphing that it's very easy to use. I mean, it's simple. You can create this set of modulation just by designing a destination for your sound. So, like and maybe you show that later on. We can get back to that on the morphing really. But that's very easy to use. We wanted this instrument to be playful as well, really. And this is something we imagined to make it happen. But also, the morphing, in a sense, is a sort of a journey. I mean, it's you're exploring sound. You can already stop somewhere. I mean, you'll show that later. But I think it's one of the key and very interesting aspect of the synthesizer. So yes, really powerful, easy to use, creative. How could we offer something extremely welcoming and deep at the same time? Maybe we should look at that maybe with you, Seb, on building one sound from scratch, so we get still a bit of the structure. We can explain.
I mean,
move here.
Like it was one of the design principles of the Brute range, of having one function with one control, and this is something we wanted to have again on this instrument. But this instrument is very powerful, very dense in the feature set. So we had to figure out the right balance of how much we want to give to the user, how much how easy is it going to be to edit the instrument, and really we paid a lot of attention to the workflow, so that when you program a sound, it feels natural. So I don't know. I just wanted to start from a init patch, and I don't really know where I'm going to go, but as a way also, because we don't want to talk about the features of the machine because others did it already and us as well. So right now it was more about why we wanted to make this instrument and what we like. So start to show you a few things on the oscillators, on the filters, and try to see where we can go. So let's do a quick ARP.
What do you have at start? Is it just
This is the default patch.
So what are we playing now? It's
just a sawtooth.
Just one.
The oscillator one playing a sawtooth. There's a bit of vibrato. Yeah, this is just a simple sawtooth going into the filters that are open. So, and now we can twig the waveform. I also want to let Thierry talk about the oscillator, because he worked a lot on the designs, and there are other things to say. But just basically, I'm using the metalizer, switching to a square wave. Going to add the second oscillator. Add some sub-bass. Maybe some FM. Now we can use the filters. Ladder filter, bit of resonance. Let's add a bit of envelope. Now an ARP. Add a bit of effect. So this is this reverb that I really like. It's taken from Pigment, a bit of delay. And then if I want to add some modulations, the matrix, we're going to get back to it later, but the mod matrix is such a flexible way to add modulations. I'm just going to assign, to the filter.
Can you assign the matrix, the Morphe as well?
Yeah, it's a source in the matrix.
Yeah, it's a source.
Any access can be
a source in the matrix. So let's just, one thing, let's show that right now. Just holding the settings, like I want my LFO to be free running and not retrieve with all the voice. So settings plus this button and turn it to off. Very simple. And now I have my LFO, failing less ML. And now if I want to use the Morphe, so first just basically the Morph right now, because I have an init patch. So if I do this, I'm going to go back to just a square wave, because that's the default state for the Morphe. You can also just copy, for instance, copy the A to B. So now I have the same thing on both. So maybe I can do some variation on this one. Maybe use the Steiner instead. maybe make it resonant. Bit of FM, bit of filter FM.
So now you're programming the second sound in the morphing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's worth mentioning that the morphing is not the Morphe really. The morphing is really part of the patch, but the morphing is the control that you can decide to use for the morphing.
Yes. Morph is a feature and Morphe is a controller in a way. So morphing is really these what Thierry was describing, having two parts in each preset, and really that everything in the voice has an evolution that is that goes from one point to the other, not just the knobs and the sliders, but even the switches and everything. And Morphe is this XY controller with a pressure sensor as well that we designed that I really love. You know, it's become such an important part of the design. You know, initially we had a lot of questions about we want the wheels to be there instead of the Morphe, but then it was not really enjoyable to use, and you know, it became such an important part of the instrument, and morphing became an important part of the instrument. And what I really like is all the different modes that you have where you can navigate between the sounds. So I don't know, now we have this. And now if I just go back to
yeah, you made that very quickly. I mean, that's
and I can also use the Morphe. And same to assign the z-axis, so it's using the matrix. So you know, just assign and maybe like this, just set an amount. Like this. Perfect.
That's great. It can be very subtle and delicate, and at the same time, it can be sometimes very strong and harsh in a sense.
Yeah.
That's
it's one thing I'm extremely happy with on PolyBrute is that like you start from just a simple sawtooth, and you kind of quickly lose yourself in some sounds that are sometimes very simple, but just the basic tone is so nice that you can really enjoy some simple patches. Like I remember when we were designing it, I had to test some features, so you just go with the default patch, and like 1 hour later you're just messing with sounds because because it's so fun to make sound. It's so fast, and
it's both extremely easy to use and quick and convenient. But what people tell us is that you can lose yourself also into it and really have a lot of of this sort of experiential and sensory moments with the synths. What about, so yes, we can build a sound quickly. We saw how you could assign the Morphe, how you built also quickly morphing between two sounds. What about we get back to some of those key modules and explain what is core also to the brute character of the synthesizer? Yeah. What is really the brute character in a sense? I think it starts with the oscillators and the choices we made back then. Yeah, and Thierry is the better person to talk about this because he really worked on the electronics, so maybe I can let you talk about it. Yeah.
So our goal with the PolyBrute was to make a polyphonic synth, but to keep the brute character. I mean, it's in the brute line. So anyway, we had to keep that brute identity that we have, and that we built from the mini brute, as you said. And there are many aspects to it, but maybe the two more obvious one would be the brute VCO and the Steiner filter. So starting from the brute VCO, my feeling is that it has some kind of West Coast vibe to it, because it can reach a huge range of timbres. Actually, if I start from that's a sawtooth.
Simple sawtooth again. Very
simple. Already you can blend it. I mean, you don't just have the sawtooth, triangle, and square wave. You can blend all the three of them.
Yeah, because that was one of our choices. It's not selecting a waveform. It's really mixing waveform.
Yeah, it's mixing waveform.
It's a mix.
It's more of a crossfade than a mix, actually.
It's a
On Matrix Brute, and actually on all the older brutes, it was a mix and on Polybrute, it's a crossfade between waveforms.
Yeah.
So why did we move from mix to crossfade?
Yeah, actually, this is the second part of the challenge that was to build the polyphonic instrument with the Brute character, is that we had to have more control on the sound, actually, because when you're playing several notes in polyphony, you cannot mess with the sound, so we had to put more control on it. And the crossfade is part of it, because, well, on the previous instrument, you could mix them like you wanted to do, but then you were in charge of the gain staging, and gain staging is a huge part of what can be messy if you do things wrong. So we had to take that under control, and so hence the crossfade, and it works well, actually. But well, you can go further on that, just blending those waveforms. You can add the metalizer, which is a wave folder that we had from the Midi-Brute, and which had a lot of character, I think. Also, those waistcoat thingy that are FM, so let's add some FM to it. And you can, again, another thing we changed it from the previous synths is that this is linear FM, and linear FM, it respects the pitch a bit better than exponential, so that's it.
Yeah, we had to narrow a few things more
and it's
to make sure it worked.
Very interesting, I think. Linear FM is very good.
I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying we had to sort of streamline a few, of the controls.
You're right. So here, you can hear it's detuning a bit, but then I can add sync, and with the sync, the tune, the pitch will always be in tune, and I can just change the tune from the VCO one. It changes then it changes the timbre and not the pitch. And if I add metalizer, it's kind of pumping already. I mean, I'm not using any filter or anything. You can feel that there's dynamic to it. Yeah. And then, well, what if I remove a bit of FM? We reach some, well, I love these timbres, but it's really hard to get with other simpler oscillators.
There's no filter right now. It's
no filter,
and I see what you mean with the West Coast, like more of the complex oscillator type of sounds that you would get.
Would be that, So, well, that's it for the...
So the oscillators just by themselves provide already a pretty rich substance for of course, the next stages.
You can get lost in them just
by looking at and working with them, and the integration between the two. I remember when we started working on the metalizer with Yves Husson, I think he was the one who brought that. I remember that from the first Midi-Brute, and all those things evolved. But yes, we have those waveform, we can cross-morph them, and then we cross-phase them. Sorry, I'm going too much into morphing right now. And yes, we have all these additional also effects you can bring on each waveform, so that's pretty cool. So the filters, we have those two filters. Would you say here again that we have a sort of East Coast versus West Coast, with the latter being more the East Coast and the West Coast with the Steiner Parker? Or will you for people who like geography when they talk synths?
Probably not as much with the filters. I don't know, the ladder filter is a typical East Coast filter. The Steiner Parker, it's not, no. It's very different from the ladder, and that's one interesting aspect on the unit, is that you get these two flavors, very different. The Steiner 12 dB, the ladder is 24 dB, so ladder will close the sound a lot more, and the Steiner will live, more sound. The resonance is very different. The ladder has a very liquid sound. The Steiner has more of a vocal, a kind of almost screaming sound. This exactly. This is, and like when you raise the resonance, and there's kind of an interaction between what you put in the filter and the resonance, where it, it kind of moves. The frequency of the filter kind of moves depending on what comes into the filter. It's very interesting. So and also the fact that the Steiner is multi-mode is a big difference. Also that you can use it in high pass, in band pass, in notch, whereas the ladder is low pass.
Yeah, and what's new with this one compared to the previous one we had is that, well, actually we had to rebuild, redesign it from the ground, because again we wanted to keep the character, but still we had to be more in control of the sound. So, for example, the resonance is much more in control, as if it's the level of self-oscillation is quite stable across the whole cutoff range. So it can scream, but it won't yell at you at some frequency and then tame it down. It's pretty, it's more in control.
Do you see it as more musical in a sense and less experimental, maybe? Would you say that?
Yeah, probably. I'd say that at least for a poly, where you need to have chords on that, and you kind of have you can't have a crowd yelling at you. I mean, you can have one people yelling at you, but not a crowd. To me, that's the image, maybe.
I understand your idea.
So well, we redesigned it so for more control, and also we needed the different modes to be continuous because of the morphing. And actually, it's quite great. So here I can play you. So that's low pass, and I can go to notch, and then high pass, and go to band pass. If I add a little bit of our brute flavor to it, you can see here it's getting interesting here in the AM. And then coming back to low pass, I can just go full on the brute factor. It's a very fat sound, I think.
Yeah.
And again,
it tames down the resonance. It kind of doesn't resonate as much because of the gain staging in the brute factor, but it adds more depth to the sound.
And it's very dynamic, I think. You have some attack to it, and it's very dynamic. I love the fact that we had this continuous knob, because there are very interesting sounds in between, actually. If I just go here, it's just rolling.
It's getting a little bit dirty, but in a nice way. It's not that dirty.
I like that sound.
Yeah, it's very musical all the way. I mean, that's one of the characteristics. So when you use and combine it with the ladder, is there something very special, unique you get out of that? Is it something you...
Yeah, you can get... Actually, with the help of the ladder, you can make the Steiner scream. And tame it down a bit with the ladder filter. And it's very, very useful, I think.
So we have those two filters, and you have the ability to use them in parallel, in series, and I see you can continuously go from one to the other.
Yeah, sure, with this knob,
Is it something you can showcase, so we see if there's any obvious benefit, or not now?
Kind of, yeah, I mean, we can show it. I mean, the main benefit is that when you morph between a patch in series and a patch in parallel, you can get you get a continuous effect, and that was one of the design principles. Like anytime we can turn something into a continuous control, then we're going to do it so that the morph becomes a continuous effect.
That's made for the morphing to be possible, and it's adding something also in terms of sound.
I'm often using, like in series, but with a little bit of parallel, because it just opens the sound, I think.
Yeah, like I don't know, like something like this. Let's go full series. So use this one in low pass, this one in high pass. So it kind of creates a band pass filter. Tag. Hold on. Let me just go series, level, this. So now we're going just into the. We're just going into the ladder. So if I turn down the low pass, we're not hearing much sound. So it's one filter into the other. A little bit of vibrato, and then if I go to parallel, I'm gonna have some clean Steiner going back into the mix. And because it's a high pass, you have all these high frequencies that come back. So series.
It's a bit more clean.
It's clean because it gets filtered by the ladder, and then fully parallel, you have both filter.
Yeah,
so
this set of harmony.
The Steiner, and just a little bit of it. Yeah.
So yes, it's allowing for a lot of versatility, really through those modules. Maybe we should stay on the sonic part of the instrument and move on to the effects. And go, again, we had the oscillators, we heard them through the filters. We can maybe hear those effects, which are new to us. We did not have that on the Matrix Brute. We had analog effects.
Yeah, on the Matrix Brute, we had a Bucket Brigade chip, which creates delay-based effects. So we did some delay, some chorus, even some weird reverb kind of sounds. That was interesting. It's got a lot of character. Maybe, and we felt like there was too much for the PolyBrute. It was something that would give a sound. Like once you start putting too much, like too many notes inside of it, it kind of blurs, smears everything. So we wanted something cleaner. Also, since the moment where we've designed Matrix Brute, we've done a lot of effects in software. Because we've done all the effects collection. And I mean, we had effects before in the instruments, but the effects collection was a lot of effort on designing algorithms, effect algorithms. So here, what we did was we had some effects that were designed specifically for PolyBrute. It's a digital effect section. So it's got 3 effect slots: modulation, delay, and reverb. And some of them are new, like really designed for the PolyBrute, and some of them are taken from our effects collection effects and the pigments effect, like this reverb. This reverb here. Let's listen to this. This reverb algorithm, the plate algorithm, is from Pigment. Fully wet. So yeah, there are 2 things about effects on this machine. We wanted to have effects because they're, it's beautiful, but also because we feel like effects are part of the sound design, of a synth patch. It's it's nice to have a very good core tone, but in the end, a lot of what you're going to hear in a production, in a synthesizer sound, is going to use effect. So of course, just like a simple delay that is very obvious is not really what we're talking about. But once you start using delay effects in a creative way, then it makes sense.
Yeah,
so we wanted that.
Sorry, interrupted. But sometimes the effects are like the sauce on your course. But
can be
when it starts to be intertwined more with the sound that it really makes sense in a synth, and that's what we try to do in this case. And we have those ability to work with the time of the delay. I mean, we can automate a certain number of things like amounts, etc.
You can modulate it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's also where this gets interesting. When you take some of the parameters and modulate them. So of course, the effects are monophonic. The rest is polyphonic. So we had to figure out some tricks also on how to modulate. But anyway, that's our stuff. I guess I have some sounds like. Maybe this one. This uses some delay time modulation. So and it's synchronized. So sometimes it's gonna jump to the octaves, and that's the delay doing that. This is like this pings. Aftertouch. Add more reverb. The aftertouch sends into the reverb. So that's another thing that uses the modulation, is that here I have little reverb, and when I press, it sends into the reverb. So
okay, you have control over descent by the aftertouch.
Yeah. Which is just one of the ways to use the modulation. So of course it uses the modulation matrix. I just earlier today I programmed here aftertouch to reverb level like this, and
very nice.
I love it. And that's what I like, is that it becomes part of your sound. It's the effects you can't really, if you take them out of this patch, like it just It's a simple, just like a very, very basic tone. It's interesting, but it's really this that. It's part of the crafting of the patch.
Yeah, what we like is it's really, it can be a very modern sound and it can be a bit more old school in a sense. You've got really this versatility. We hear that one of the characteristics, and the first reviewers mentioned that, is really the fact that the sounds are quite evolving. Really, it's probably due to this structure with the modulation metrics inviting to really create modulations. All those controls that you have really at your fingertip everywhere, and really the morphing. Shouldn't we spend a bit more time explaining the morphing and what you can do with it? Because we went through that quickly. Maybe Seb, you're the right person to give us more details.
I mean, I remember the like some meetings, like the three of us, about what can we do to, to add new things to this instrument, new functionalities. And expressivity with all the controls was really one aspect we wanted to push. The sound was the other one. We've mentioned that already. But morphing, this whole question of, can we have an instrument that can fully go from one sound to the other? I mean, it was already there in some of the V collection instruments, the old ones with the sound map, for those who remember, like how you could navigate between patches. But here we really designed the instrument with that in mind. And I think this is where it makes a huge difference, is that everything is meant to morph, and sometimes even it led to some like decision, like we can't do that because it wouldn't morph, so it doesn't make sense. So and
you have to compromise at some point for the grander shim.
So that in the end you can select some sounds and it makes sense. So there are the goal was to again have some interesting evolving sounds, because that's where polyphonic analog synth really shine. It's when you have, I don't know, like let's quote Blade Runner if we have to, like these sounds where something has like a powerful evolution and some movement, and you can do it organically by using the controls, the expression pedals, the mod wheel, but also what the engine itself can do to to give you this movement. So this comes with a lot of modulators and a lot of things you can do to the tone to make it evolve.
Give us examples. I mean, can you showcase?
So I don't know. Another side of I will just show you an example right away. But another interesting aspect of morphing is how it's a great way to generate ideas. And because we've designed morphing from the ground up, when you choose, you already have a sound and you can navigate in presets to select a destination, and often you get interesting results. And that's a very interesting aspect, how you can generate new sounds based on existing ones. I don't know, there's this preset actually, the cassette RFI from Matt, I love your sound.
Matt Pike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great
So
sound.
it's a simple, like it feels simple, but there's a lot going on, and it's very expressive. It's very beautiful.
You can play with the Morphe.
Yeah. So in this case, the Morphe. In this case, this is not connected to the Morph. In this patch, it is connected in the matrix. So here we have 3 destinations. Let's see. The amount of FM, the amount of FM. Yes, you can do recursive modulations in Matrix Brute and PolyBrute. The amount of sub, the resonance, the LFO amount. So a lot of things. Yeah, so let's go back to this simple sound. And now we're gonna go to the Morph page and just look for other sounds. So I'm gonna use the pick B function, and now the matrix shows me the patches.
Potential destination for your morph.
Yeah,
so you have your
the
first
presets
sound,
you have on the machine.
and you could have a second sound that's going to be the destination of this morphing, and you can pick that among the existing presets.
Currently it does like this, so it's got more attack. This is the current B, And now let's choose another one. So I don't really know.
You've tried some, or is it just random?
Well, in this case, I don't know. I tried a few, but I can't remember the position.
So you're just setting new destinations for the original sounds.
Yep. I know these are the key sounds. We've organized them, so it's a. Let's try another one.
So each time when you do this morphing, it's still usable. It's musical.
Yeah.
That's one of the good things. I'm surprised it's been a lot of work to get there, really.
Well, yeah. You know, some choices like how to handle the pitch, how to handle the sync, the fact that we have a continuous sync, how
amazing.
to enter the assigning of the filters. This, like with Bruno and Thierry and the others, you know, we had long meetings about so how is this gonna morph? You know, like this feature that normally wouldn't morph. No, hard sync. Normally, hard sync is something where it's on or off between two oscillators. So how could we turn it into a knob and, you know, some techniques with like comparators and you know, some analog wizardry to turn it into a continuous parameter. These, you know, where you can choose how to assign to the signer or the ladder, but actually when you morph, it can go from one to the other. Here you can see it. I don't know if you guys can see it on the LEDs show you that, you know, it can progressively go from just the Steiner to both of them. L4V3, I mean, I won't even go into the detail of how this works, but
the
like
headache behind that.
Yeah, there's you know, like it's mathematical nightmares, but you know,
But
in
you
the
won't
end,
see that.
we
For you,
don't.
it's just
Yeah,
pure-
we don't
pure
care.
music.
Yeah, it's
Pure pleasure.
The cool thing is that it works. You know, in the
Yeah.
end, that whatever we had to do for it to work is irrelevant. The thing is that it works. Sometimes it doesn't sound great. You know, like let's admit it. Like you just browse through preset randomly, and sometimes it's not that interesting. But you get a lot of good surprises, and it's a great way to generate sounds, even if you're not
Generate ideas.
a sound designer. We even put like a random preset generator that, well, you tried it with just like fully random, and it doesn't sound good because
Doesn't work.
Yeah,
That's
doesn't
a
like
When you say random, it's not totally pure random. We
well,
have the two presets.
pure
we
random
build
wasn't
from
good. Pure random wasn't good. So what you guys did was like you have for the A part, you take two presets randomly, you morph between them, kind of in between. That becomes your new starting point. Take two other presets, mix them up with the morph. That's the B part. And then, well, you can navigate between these two.
Yeah, we take presets, put them in, just blend.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's it.
Where are they? I did some examples. Well, the other day, like I spent like 30 minutes just using the generate function. I think I kept like 1 out of 6. You know, 1 out of, which is already a lot when you're doing generative.
Is it really useful to do that? I mean, since you can do so much, you want to leave it to hazard?
I did some sequences like. So the sequences were not generated. Just wrote them afterwards. But so this is random preset.
You need random presets?
I love random presets. Like this, like honestly, I don't know how I would do this timbre evolution. You know, I'm not an expert sound designer, but you know, it's not just like increasing the cutoff. You know, a lot of things are happening. The waveforms are changing. I don't know.
How much time did it take you?
Well, just generate. I did generate, and it was
So
good.
maybe 10 seconds.
Good. Yeah, and this one was kind of a bass sound, which I really like, and B is more like some hard sync. Don't know, and it sounds cool.
It was pure random, or did you pick the first preset because you had an idea, an orientation? Because you could do that as well.
I mean,
so, you know, I like those. I like to mix those.
We can try it, and it might, you know, like you do this.
So what are you doing? Just can you explain? You pick.
I'm just going and doing generate, and now I have a. I don't know.
So
You asked me to do stuff that
you don't want to do.
Yeah, anyway, Anyway, let's not bother
just
with that.
Mentioning the morphing is a great tool for there is this sort of random creation of sound. There is this way to get evolving sound using that as a sort of advanced modulation. There's everything you do also by picking two sounds and being somewhere in the middle or somewhere between the two and creating a new sound, but not necessarily randomly. I mean, all those things are quite new and making it really standing apart, evolving. So yes, the morphing is really central in the machine. What about we spend 2 minutes, because you showed that already a bit on the matrix, so everybody understand what it does, because you're using it a lot and we did not really explain everything.
Maybe it's become something so natural for us because it was already on Matrix Brute, but actually it's such a powerful tool for modulation, for visualizing what's happening in your patch. And because you have this matrix right in front of you, you tend to use modulations a lot more than with other instruments. And you were mentioning that, like this kind of modular with presets, how we enjoyed patching cables and how you can look at the cables and see what is going where. This you almost get the same kind of effect with the mod matrix. I don't know. Let's see this. So this is a patch that uses a lot of modulation. Again, some morphing, some movement, but just the core tone of it. You can hear all the movement, and
it's very complex.
Yeah, it's very complex. Like you modulate the rate of an LFO, so it's faster, slower. So it goes way beyond modulating the pitch, the cutoff, and the pulse width. There's a lot of things you can do to generate more interesting patches, and it sounds good in Polyphonic.
You can probably say also that's probably one of the only pre-built synths to offer such diversity. I mean, it's very close to a modular system. I mean, the sounds we hear are typical of modular systems.
Yes,
we're pretty close to that. I mean, the ambition it was maybe a bit higher, but it's still probably the closest you can get to a modular system in a sense, and that's why you have so much
the flexibility
diversity
of patching. Yeah, definitely. The modular, there's a lot of experimentation on modulars with like audio rate modulation, but it's not something that is, it's very hard to control like FM or modulating parameters very fast and polyphony. There's a polyphony, you really want to have more control, so it's that's kind of where the limit is, I would say. Another great thing about the matrix is that, like, once you have it, you can use it for different stuff, like just browsing through presets. I've been doing that, and it's I don't know. I remember where the patches are. I don't really care about the names or whatever. I just navigate. We also organize them in a way where we have like basses and keys and arpeggios, so it's you kind of know where things are. So modulation and sequencer, it's
a natural
way to
editing tool
sequencer.
for the sequences. It's already made for that. It's agreed.
Yeah. It's it's already there. I don't know. Let's.
Yeah, show us a bit about the sequencer, maybe the Arpeggiator and the special sequencer we have on board.
Maybe where's your? Okay, let's start with a simple patch so we can hear. So sequencer, I won't go into the detail. The sequencer is really deep. What's great about it is that it's polyphonic. You can have up to 6 notes of polyphony in each step. You can record up to 3 tracks of parameter automations. That's really, really cool as well. So I don't know, just recording either step recordings. In this one, I can write some chord. I can write overdub on top of the sequence, so just real time recording. Write some automations. thing like that. So you know, it's very flexible. You can go deep into editing, like select a step and then edit the notes inside. But you know, let's not bother with that. Another thing I really like, again using the matrix, is this matrix arpeggiator. So we have an arpeggiator, just a simple operator. You can have octaves, different playing modes. But the sequence arpeggiator is something that uses the matrix. I mean, this feature couldn't really exist without the matrix. So
as an editor, you mean?
As a way to as a way to control.
Yeah.
It's kind of in between a sequencer and an arpeggiator. So right now I can see I like da 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 da. I can reorganize the way the notes are played. Okay, and this is polyphonic. And you can change the chord. If you change the note, you get the same evolution but with different. You can activate or deactivate some step. You can change the octaves. So and I don't know, it's so easy. Tool. It's so easy. I never used it to precisely program a sequence, but I've come up with a lot of just interesting.
Yeah, it's almost a performance control. The matrix.
Yeah. Just mess around, add more notes, remove some of them.
Yeah, it's helping with the melody. The way the synth is also helping with the sound design through the morphing and all those sort of entry points that are extremely nice and cool to use. So yeah, very nice feature. I don't know if everyone knew that we had that. It's on the Matrix Brute as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but noticed that. But it's a great way to sequence and go beyond and mix again, as you mentioned, arpeggiation and sequencing. I don't know if you want to talk more about the arpeggiator and sequencer, but I think we should mention the motion recorder, which is a very unique.
Yeah. Let's talk about the motion recorder. Let's see. Can I use this? I'm gonna use this. As a simple sound, a little bit of vibrato, because vibrato. Okay. So the motion recorder is a feature where you can arm the recording, move a parameter, and when you stop, so you press a key, you move a parameter, and when you release the key, the movement you've recorded will be playbacked the next time. So let's do it on something we can. Let's start with a low cutoff. So let's do that. I'm gonna arm the recording, play a note, record some movement, and then we'll. Right. It's polyphonic, which is great. So if I play all notes together, they're gonna get the same movement. Then let's increase the stereo. Stereo just spreads the voices in the left and right. So now a little bit of delay. And now everything is gonna move a bit on its own.
So it's adding to this sort of evolving character of the machine.
And the link with the gesture, because it's a gesture you made that's been recorded.
So it's not part of the modulation sources we have in the matrix that are more part of the patch. It's really about recording what you're doing with your hand. So it's a different approach, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Can you?
It can be very long. That's something that I really like about this, is that you can record. You can record like more than 10 minutes of motion and have it play back. So the longer you record, the less accuracy you will have. So if you want to have something very rhythmic,
why do you have less accuracy?
It has 1,000 points, and if you record a short sequence, it's going to use the 1,000 points very precisely. And the more you record, the more it's going to take some points in between.
Relocating the memory as you play. Interesting.
And it can also loop. Yeah, you can change the rate. So. Can have it loop. No.
Can you automate moves on the Morphe? So because right now you're automating one parameter, right? One control, but could you record something you will do with these three parameters? Because Morphe basically gives you three parameters with one.
I think maybe Hawkins.
Hawkins? I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can try that.
So this one has this feature. So when you use the Morphe with the motion recorder, you actually get all three parameters recorded at the same time. So X, Y, and Z, unlike the other parameters where you just get one. So yeah, you can record ribbon, you can record the wheel, you can record the master cutoff. And let's try with this one. So. Okay, so now let's play something more like. Well, yeah, actually, you know how this is something I love about this feature is that it creates some very human movement and.
Yeah, how would it be to program it through Lfos?
Yeah, that will be a long
then you
work
can have
to
it
do that.
loop. Sorry, I'm getting lost.
No, great. I mean, that's very nice to listen to that. So, yes, did we tell everything we wanted about the machine? So yes, we took it from really the sort of ease of use, the instantaneity, the sort of also hands-on, sort of sensory experience you can get with it. We went through the sound, the patch and everything, the matrix, the Morphe, everything we can do also in terms of morphing, which is pretty dense. We talked about the effects, the sequencer. I think we need to talk about the software that comes with PolyBrute, because for us it's again, I mentioned that earlier in the presentation. We come from the software world, and offering the best out of the two, software and hardware, is something we've been looking at for a long time. So being able to offer an experience that's right for you, depending on your situation, is of course key and very much part of our strategy. So a lot of our products do that, but you'll see more and more of our products going in that direction of offering tight integration between software and hardware. And here it's really an analog synthesizer, and still we're coming with much more than an editor, which is the PolyBrute Connect. So I'll leave it to you to explain what it is, but again, this is the companion probably this machine deserved.
Yeah. I mean, there were some, I don't know, there were some problems we wanted to solve. You know, like it's so cool to have a piece of hardware, but the more you get, the more your setup becomes complex. You know, you have like the default DAW project of someone who has a lot of hardware is like you have all your tracks in Midi, and you have all your Midi filtering, and you need a Midi patch bay, and you need some audio tracks and all of that. And it's also concepts that are not very easy for someone who comes from the DAW and just computer-based music, which is a lot of people today, I think. So it was like, how can we better integrate PolyBrute with a computer with different things we wanted to do. First, just as a way to back up sounds. You know, many people are just going to use it as a hardware device, and they're going to create 1 million patches on it, and they just want to store some of them or reorganize them or do stuff before they go and play live. So for that, this is great. Also because it. I don't know if you guys are seeing the user interface, but it shows you the Polybrood.
Do we have a way to show? Yeah,
I guess so. Yeah. Okay.
Connect.
Cool. So it shows the actual parameters of the patch. So when you load a patch, maybe it's one you did. It's a good way to refresh your memory. Or if you're just looking at a factory patch, you're gonna understand better how it was designed by seeing the different pages. the great thing also is that when you morph, you actually get the morphing effect, and you see how the various parameters evolve.
Yeah, that's
on the interface
good,
when
occasion to explain again the morphing by showing that when you go from one sound to the other, every parameter on the machine is switched, is moving.
Exactly. So that was another great feature, just showing you briefly, the browser. So you have all the factory patches here. You have your unit patches over there. Here you have projects, which are more like blocks, a bit like the matrix, so you can do backups and everything.
So project will load an entire set like a matrix.
Yeah, it can be either one page, so 12 by 8 presets, or the entire memory, the 768 presets. And yes, I think so. There were two things that were really caused a lot of trouble on this editor. I mean, we've been working on this editor for more than 2 years, and it was a challenge because we wanted to have a smooth integration, and especially wanted to have it VST, or I mean, at least integrate into a DAW, so VST audio units, and well, VSTs don't really like to talk with hardware, so we had to figure out solutions on how to integrate that, and it works well now. You can have multiple instances in your DAW. If you recall your DAW project, the PolyBrute will just go back to the preset that you were using at the moment. So you saved your DAW project, you save everything, and you can go back to it. So you don't have to memorize which patch you were using for which project, and you don't have to pay attention to maybe you're going to delete a preset that you were using, in a track or things like that, because everything is stored in the editor, in the PolyBrute Connect.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. And I don't know, I personally love to use hardware, but I also at some point when I make tracks, I want to I want to be in a DAW, and I like to write automations, and it's so much more flexible.
Yeah. At some point you need to produce, and that's also an important moment we had to look after. I mean, the machine was made for performance. It works well also for people who are not, I think, able to perform through the sequencer, but also through the DAW integrations, which is a big part of it. So yes, for us it's been also a big part of the project. It's been much longer than we thought to make that right, but I think we did, and eventually we're happy with that. So that's PolyBrute. It's maybe it's time for us to see if we have questions, but before that, I'd like just to thank a few people who've been working on this project. So the first person I think will be Bruno. PA has been the project manager. So you mentioned earlier that we had a lot of talks about it. I think it was really, really central in all these talks, and very, very, very incremental everything we've done since the Mini Brute, along you, Thierry. Of course, the rest of the team, like Thomas, very much, Jose, on the electronic, Olivier, Lionel on the mechanics, Thibaut has been also working hard on the Morphe, Victor and Jean-Michel, mainly, of course, Jean-Michel first on the sound design of the unit. We've had Nicolas looking after a number of things, really on this sterilization. We did not mention, but a unit like that is tested in the factory. To do that, we create our own tester. So when we create a product like that, we create a certain number of other products just for testing. So each of the boards inside the PolyBrute is tested 3 times. First to check the power supply, then really all the functions, and then eventually we test the full unit. And in total, a unit is tested, I think, over 5 hours with a lot of automatic tests. We have cameras checking that every LED will be lit in the right way. Of course, we check every control, etc. So we have a team working on that. What we call MIT, which means Mesure, Industrialisation et Test, which is pretty easy to translate, measure, industrialization and test. And Aurore, Valentin and Benjamin have been working on all the testers to make sure PolyBrute was right and well tested in the factory. So we get also all the logs from all the tests that are brought back to us on the servers, and we can check also everything from our side. So quality has been something we've been looking after very carefully. And of course, the tester, Germain, has been the lead tester on this. Florian has helped him a lot. All the beta testers are really, really great. For PolyBrute Connect, it's worth mentioning that Alex, sorry for the long, but I need to do that.
It was a big team.
Yeah, long race,
big team.
and Kevin have been really, really proud of that. The design, many of you know that already, has been done by Axel. our longtime friend Axel Hartmann, who's done a lot of our products and design, really great for us. And of course, Seb, you've been here at the center of that as product manager. So really cool experience, great project, very exciting, and we're proud of the product because I think we did not compromise so much along the way. I think the directions we've taken, we have tried to go to the root and do things really well. We did not do everything, but what we decided to do, we did that really well. I think it's also a tribute again to Bruno, to yourself. Very stubborn about making things right, and that's been very good to see and comforting. This is why we're so happy today. Hope you're going to be too. I think we should wait for questions. Maybe we play a few sounds while questions are coming. One of you is ready to do
Thierry's
that?
Going to play some sound.
Cool.
Yeah. Non, bien là.
Okay.
What should I play?
What would you play?
So, shall I read the first one?
Yes, go ahead.
So product development is often driven by user stories. Can you describe the primary users that drove the PolyBrute development decisions? It's a very good question.
I think
there are a lot of them. I mean, it's also the legacy of the Matrix Brute and how we talk to people who use the Matrix Brute, and what they wanted in an instrument like that. So
I think that it's also, you're true. The polyphonic analog is something we wanted to do. It's a sort of holy grail, and for a company, it's a stage, at least in their development. But for us, it was also talking to people who may not be able to understand everything from scratch and may want to have, again, an instrument first and not a system. So I think the people we have in mind are people who want to be creative and want to use technology at its best, but not be stopped by technology, which happens sometimes. And it's always a fine balance between, again, depth and features, and at the same time offering something that's, let's say, empowering or even enlightening. So what I have in mind is really the people who are just a bit new to that, and they just want to have this playful experience and have a chance to get into it, because it's beautiful. But if it's too hard at first, it's always a challenge. So again, this is where we have our discussions, because some of you are more inclined to give more depth to the product. I'm always looking after the user who's getting started. So I think it's a mix of all these people, and of course requests by user as well. What was the design process and how much time took this? I think we have to say that engineers really took a lot of the lead. I think you and Bruno, the two of you, were first to really envision the unit, and it came, I think, really from the technical standpoint.
I think, first we still had the idea of making an instrument, so still it was not technical. We are both musicians anyway, so we have, strong feelings about that. But then again, we are also engineers, so it comes down to the technical. And we like to try stuff and to make stuff up, so we tried many things. Actually, we for making the PolyBrute, we started with making a polymatrix brute with 6 voices of the matrix.
Big thing.
Big rack.
Yeah.
It was sounding huge, but a little bit over the top, I think.
Intimidating, yeah.
And then from that, we're starting to remove things, to adjust things, and with this prototype, we had this morphing idea, and we just prototyped it, and just because we could make it, and it all made sense. And then I think with your input and obviously Seb's input, it made that, I think.
It's a sort of sculpture. I feel like you took away a little bit of the substance, a bit of the material, to make this a new sculpture that will be fitting really the need of a polyphonic synthesizer, a polyphonic instrument. Not leaving everything we had, this kind of bulky, big sculpture, like a Rodin sculpture. You turn that into something more delicate that we have here. Yeah,
but we tried many things anyway. For the Morphe, for example, I don't know if you remember, but we at some point we had some kind of 3D mouse that you could just like that. It worked, but we felt it wasn't enough for that. It wasn't.
It went back to the default position when you released it.
We
wanted to be able to keep position, you know, like a bit more accuracy and the
to
fact
be
that you can
able to
release and
explore
still
the
keep,
sound like that, yeah.
And the feedback force also is something important. I mean, again, it's a sort of response. We don't have to be too poetic or emphatic about it, but still, it's different when you just push something and when you have this feedback from it. It's a different relation to the instrument. So yes, eventually we came to that after several attempts.
Yeah.
There are a lot of questions. I think we know.
Okay.
If there are only 6 voices, how are long release notes held? Could you explain the actual limitations? Actually, so we have only 6 voices, and so we had a sustain pedal when we play right now, but we did some effort on the voice allocation to make sure that when you seal a voice, we make it as transparent as possible.
Yeah.
So choosing what is the best voice to steal, so there are various algorithms to do that. Also, I feel like because the voice on PolyBrute is already so, can be so dense with all the variations in the oscillators and on the filters, that like when you reach more than 6 voices and you want to play another one, it doesn't, it's not as noticeable as on a simpler synthesizer, I feel.
So could you explain the actual limitations? I don't know if it's on the voices, I guess yes. So, and I'm trying to read.
To work internally, I don't know. I mean, the technical side, The technical side of the voicing is, let's not go into these details. It's really.
You want to say something about that?
I don't know. Is it about why not more?
Why not more voices? We could answer that. And what happens really internally? How you kill the voices? How you select the new ones?
There are a set of rules to steal them in a way that it's not so noticeable. But I won't explain all the rules because
it will be quite long. But we tried our best. Does the Polybrute have polyphonic aftertouch? No. It doesn't.
No.
But it does a lot of other things. Can you play some more bass sounds? Yes, good idea. Could you do that?
I love this one. It's just. And I'm going to try,
presets, and then this.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You're right.
You go.
So they're there. Let's try some of them randomly. Oh, there's this one which is not bass, it's a lead, but it's quite huge. Yeah.
I think we should prepare very.
Showcase.
Yeah, the basses here.
Oh, there's this one, which is great. What do I have here? Oh yeah, I love that. Could make a track, but that's not too much effort.
We should prepare a very big, I don't know, some sort of what people expect, I guess, is to see how beefy the sound can be. Do we have something like that, or maybe we prepare that for next time?
I find that this was quite beefy already.
Yeah.
Maybe a shorter attack, something a bit more round also.
Well, I can't memorize all the presets.
No, well, okay, maybe you go. Well, we'll try to post stuff to prove ourselves.
Yeah, we have good example, I think, on the website, and more is coming anyway.
And unison also, because we have unison mode, having all 6 voices playing together can create some very, very nice bass tones.
Is it temperature compensated, or is there a tune function like on the matrix group, warm-up time? So
yeah, actually the oscillators have been redesigned to be less temperature sensitive. So there's already that, but then we also calibrate them at different temperatures, so they are much more stable than on matrix brutes. And still you're able to calibrate them. There's a menu for that if you want to calibrate because you feel you need more accuracy.
But is there
and there are temperature sensor for that.
Sensor inside that will adapt
on each voices.
We're adapting the tune depending on the temperature that we're measuring in real time.
Yeah.
I think that was the question.
Is it able to work as a master MIDI controller? Yes. Right now it's mainly on the PolyBrute Connect, but there will be a CC map to control everything. And the next question, how also does the Morph knob send MIDI messages for the knob parameters that are assigned to it? So if I understand well, I don't know. The Morph knob. So if you turn the Morph knob, and if all the parameters move because of the Morph, then they are not going to send CCs for all the movements. It would be a nightmare otherwise. So the Morph knob is going to send some CCs, but not, it's not going to transform, send all the modifications of the patch.
So I think what maybe the person who asked would like to see is, could we turn maybe this controller into a set of MIDI instructions that will go to every parameter? I don't know why.
But I think that would be too many.
Yeah,
actually.
a lot, but that's the question from what I got anyway. Okay, so I think we can answer no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
can the various knobs and sliders be assigned to MIDI control out? Yeah, to control other scenes. Example of recollection. You want to answer?
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's there will be a MIDI map to do that. Yeah.
It will be great if it could be MP capable at some point. Yeah. I mean, for external input for MP controllers like the instrument, C-board, continuing. Has this been considered? It's a question we've had about our virtual instruments as well. Some of them are starting to be MP. MP with that as a destination for MP.
For now, it doesn't work with MP, but it accepts a poly aftertouch. I mean, standard MIDI poly aftertouch signal. So already you can have poly aftertouch with that.
Okay, so would you be able to connect a C-board and take the best out of all the C-board controls, the lead drum, for example?
Not yet.
No, yeah.
Technically, it's possible, I guess, to be able to modulate, some parameters per voice, but it's not something we have right now. Yeah. How many effects in Polybrood? So 3 effect slots: modulation, delay, and reverb. In the modulation, you have 9 algorithms. So chorus, phaser, like 2 types of phasers, 3 types of flangers, ring modulation, beat crusher, decimate. I think that's it. On the delay, you have multiple flavors of delay, like more analog type of delays, cleaner delays, stereo delays, longer delays, very short delays, like Carplus Strong. So 9 algorithms. And on the reverb, you have 7 algorithms. Like the first one is hold, then plate, then some room, some kind of shimmer. That sounds very nice. I don't know if I have. Where are we? This. So this is a sound without any effect. Then adding some chorus, delay, and reverb. And now let's listen to the spring reverbs to the shimmer.
So if it answers the question, are the Lfos and envelope digital or analog? If they are digital, do they have a sort of slope function? So you want to answer that, Thierry, maybe?
They're digital. All the modulation sources are digital, and they don't have this slope function afterwards, but the Lfos have the sample and hold kind of stuff.
I don't know what the person means by slope function. The envelopes have different algorithms. You can have like a regular decay or more of a percussive decay, and same thing on the attack. You also have some variations, like the velocity can modify the times in different ways, like kind of a natural way where it shortens the attack and reduce it and increase the decay, things like that.
On the envelope.
On the envelopes, yeah. On the Lfos, the 2 first Lfos are kind of just a waveform that you choose, because with the Morph you can crossfade between the waveforms, so you can do some very complex waveforms out of the Lfos. And the third one is a different Lfo design. It's more inspired by the like the Surge DUSG, like the Universal Slope Generator, or maybe those familiar with some of like Make Knows, like the math, things like that. you have like tempo sync, so you have a rate and then some kind of a pulse width control between, like for a triangle, between a sawtooth, a triangle, and a ramp, and then you can also carve, between exponential and logarithmic. So you can do some very interesting waveforms just with this LFO.
It's worth mentioning there's also a sort of color code where the sound patch, all the oscillators filters are on dark black, just like the effects, and the modulations are on those light gray. So you can also see that here.
How many factory presets? Good question.
There are around 400, I think.
For now, it's
384
Yeah,
right
okay.
now.
That's right.
384, but we've already done another bank. And
So we're going to provide banks. I think the goal is every month. And we're going to banks of what you think? 32 presets? It will depend. But
yeah,
I think soon you're going to have 100 of presets.
For now, we're gathering many presets, and then we'll
We don't want to put everything in the first release, but all of them have been very well curated. So you'll see that when you try the unit.
Is there new sequencing options compared to Matrix Brute? Yes, polyphonic, and it's like making a polyphonic sequencer is like polyphonic step sequencer is not easy. How to have some proper editing of the sequence afterwards. So what you can do here is you can have up to 6 notes in each step, and the notes can have a length up to 64 steps, and they can overlap. So you could have like a bass and then you play an arp and things like that. So it's very different from the Matrix Brute where it's, trig or tie or rest in that regard. 3 tracks of automation. You had 1 on the Matrix Brute, so it's a big, sorry about that, a big difference. What else could I mention? A lot of editing functions to rewrite your sequence. Some abilities to transpose, to copy your sequence, to paste it on another preset with the automations or not. What were we saying?
the metronome.
Oh, a metronome. Wonderful. So quite a few. Yeah.
Can Morph be modulated by Aftertouch?
Yes! We don't talk about this enough. Morph can be a destination in the matrix, and it's insane. Like you can do some patches where you create 2 interesting sound, and then you just use like an envelope or an LFO to navigate between them, or Aftertouch, like you mentioned. Ribbon is really cool for the Morph. It's because it's long. There's a very nice feel on how you can evolve between the 2 sounds with the ribbon. Yeah.
Do we have examples of that, or it will be too difficult to find them right now? One where you automate, or
I don't know,
the Morph itself.
I think
you can just choose a preset.
This one is. It's going to
evolving between the 2 sounds.
Is there a modulation of the Morph? Or is it?
I guess.
8. Yes, the envelope. So right now the envelope is morphing, and also this. So if we just get rid of that, this is the sound without morph modulation. Okay, so just static, then bring it back. Yeah. It's really cool. It gets, I don't know. I really love using Morph in the matrix. Like velocity on Morph is great as well, where each note can have different flavors. I did like drum machines, making like a kick drum, low velocity, high velocity to make some notes and stuff like that, to do like kick, bass, some pads and stuff with one pad.
I think Gordon Reid mentions that in his review, the fact that you can automate the Morph or modulate the Morph allows to really modulate a lot of other parameters through that. So it's like having a super option to automate and modulate a lot of things at the same time. So will you consider manufacturing a polysynth at the level of the Mini Brute or the Micro Brute? I think you're talking price. We will consider. It's this kind of machine. It's hard to imagine at certain cost, because components have a cost, quality some way has a cost as well. I mean the choices we made drove us to this price, but we can also try to be smart with our design. It will have to be quite smart to be at the price of really the Micro Freak for polyphonic analog, for sure. Very difficult, but maybe Behringer will make it. We have to see. That's a challenge for them to try. But we like also to have products that are not too expensive. And again, that's part of this vision that we had since the first day, our first product was called Storm. It's to invite people to make music, whether they know what music theory is or not, whether they have money or not. So yeah, we're always happy to open as much as we can our instruments to everyone, but it's not always feasible.
Is it the keyboard from the Keylab Mark II? Yes, it is.
But the 88, from the Keylab 4961.
It's the same keybed as our semi-weighted 6149. Keylab 88 is a different keybed.
True, yeah. Matrix had multiple CV gate ins out. Polybrood don't have. We saw that on different forums.
Can I control via CV? So no, we don't have CV in and out. CV is more interesting on monophonic sounds, because on polyphonic it controls everything at the same time. It can make sense. I guess it was a design principle to not invest too much into this side of things. We have other devices that do that pretty well. You can use an expression pedal as a CV control if you want. You can use these pedal input.
Actually, it was part of the things that we thought we could remove from the Polymetric Brute, which had those huge many functions, and also to reduce the price because anyway.
Features have to be meaningful also to the target, and that was probably a bit too much given what we wanted to do and growing the machine, growing everything around it. So no, it doesn't have that. Yes. Can the Polybrood be expanded in number of voices by adding voice cards of polychain? So that's an interesting question. Right now it can't. Is it something we will do one day? We may consider that, but right now I think the form factor does not allow for it. I mean, cards are pretty big, so we could not open the Polybrood and add another card inside.
Yeah, it's very, very full inside, actually.
Yeah. But maybe there will be other kind of ways to do that one day, but we're not at this point right now to really, we did not make any decision. We're not moving so far in any direction.
So motion recording, the question is about, motion recording, what I was showing earlier, moving a knob and it plays it back. If you record a long motion, so the points are spread out, it still smoothly moves between those points, correct? Yes, there is linear interpolation from one point to the other. Yeah, even when it's at the shortest, there's always linear interpolation.
When in split modes, are the voices split 3 on each side? Or can they be assigned in, for example, 5 on one side or 1 on the other?
It's all dynamic. I mean, you have the 6 for the whole keybed, and then we have sets of rules that you cannot steal every voice from one part. I mean, we saved some of them, so it's part of the set of rules. But anyway, the 6 voices are allocated to the whole keyboard.
And if a part is mono, it's got 1 voice, and the other one has 5, so you can keep a voice. Yeah. Can we modulate or change arpeggio time divisions? I don't know.
Interesting.
No.
I don't think so.
No. Yeah. The Arpeggiator and Sequencer are not part of the destinations.
Yeah, modulation. That's right. Or resolution with the the arpeggio resolution with the matrix modulation or sequencer.
That's what we just answered. Yeah. Can you change the pitch of Oscillator 2 sub so that it is slightly out?
The sub is a sub. Yeah, I mean, it's tight with the oscillator.
So octave divider.
Yeah.
So you can detune Oscillator 2, but it's not a third oscillator. Yeah. As the unit is based on digital effects, can we expect different new pack of effects like granular effects that are more used in ambient? Can we expect more creative effects more than DIY or classic reverb ones?
Well,
technically, yes.
Yeah, we plan on expanding on that.
Yeah. We're going to have updates to the firmware. We're going to bring more effects the way we did with Microfreak recently. This is going to be a growing machine for, of course, the digital section of it.
But, I mean, if you look at the effect section, we didn't provide a lot of controls in the effect section. We wanted to have, some interesting presets that sound good and give you just what you need. Like the example of a granular preset. When I designed like the granular engine of pigments, it requires so many knobs. It's really hard to make like a granular engine with very few controls. So maybe it's possible, but maybe also you will feel frustrated because you want to randomize the size and you don't have a size control, or randomize the pitch and you have a pitch control. I don't know. It's an interesting topic, but really the amount of controls, maybe we can't go too deep in the type of algorithms.
But there's not always need for controls. I mean, if you want this specific sound for ambient music, for example, you may be happy with having just one or two, and that may be fine. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. If you really want to use that as part of your sound design, it's probably a bit harder as with just so, but still we could bring that, yes. When is the Arturia software PolyBrute editor going to be available? I think it is to all the sound designers and all this crew. The product not being available right now, the PolyBrute Connect, the name we have for this PolyBrute editor, is not available as well. But I think within the next 2 months, 2-3 months, when products are really hitting the shelves, so we announced November, we'll have at the same time on the website as the PolyBrute Connect, which I think will be okay for everyone to download. I don't remember if we have a policy on that. Everyone could download it, or is it something we will...
You need to register the instrument to be able to access the PolyBrute Connect, which, I mean, it's just, if you have your unit, it's just like typing the serial number. So no problem with that to get the download of the PolyBrute Connect. Yeah.
Okay.
And is there a chance for a Matrix Brute Connect? Tough question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we rebuilt the firmware architecture of the PolyBrute to be able to do that. So it will require to just build another firmware for the Matrix Brute. So it's not that easy, I think. We have to consider it, but it's not that easy.
Yeah, we may talk about it. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen, but okay, we'll look into that. Please show FM, AM and sync if it has this kind of modulation.
Yeah. So we don't have amplitude modulation. Well, there is a ring mod effect at the end, but there is no ring mod within the oscillators. But FM and sync, we have it. And one thing Thierry was showing earlier is how the FM and sync are in the right order, meaning that you do FM on oscillator 1 and you synchronize oscillator 1 to oscillator 2, so that oscillator 2 is kind of your master, and then with sync and FM you can kind of have all the various tones. I don't know if you want to show that again.
Why not?
Quickly, yeah, it's an occasion to hear a bit of sound.
So here,
And
I'm going to take back, where is it? So I was starting from a simple waveform, which is the sawtooth, and then adding some FM to it. So it slightly detunes the pitch, it's linear FM. So adding the sync here, it goes, the pitch is okay. And then I can just change, I'm going to change the tune because it's going to add more flavor to it. And then many flavors to that. There's also this, while we are at it, the fun stuff is that the sync is continuous, and you can have bleepy and I mean like that. It's almost talking to you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's got like a bit like steps, and it feels a bit like some octave dividers sometimes. Right.
Hope it answers the question. So, all right. Can you have editable LFO waveform shapes like on the Matrix Brute?
I guess.
Not yet.
Again.
Actually,
Not yet.
Yes, we could add that. Yeah.
Yeah, we thought about it. I don't know. Maybe in the future, but the matrix is smaller, so it makes maybe less sense to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it would be doable. It's
Yeah, it's doable.
Is there a way to know the real value of each knob and slider when you load a pad instead of touching it and try to let in the right value?
That's an editing question.
So right now we have, how does it work? There's a way to visualize the A and B value.
I mean, like that.
When you hold preset.
I see that A and B are there, here. I don't know if you see the screen. You can see the A and B point.
Yeah. Let's see what this one in someone where A and B are different. Yeah. So this one you have the A value and the B value. So if I just go to A, I can set the A value. Go to B, I can set the B value, and now I'm back to the preset values.
Yeah.
All right. Next, so has PolyBrute been developed with live use in mind? I think we can say yes. Is it fast enough to change presets on the fly?
Yeah, it's
So
quite fast.
how fast is it? Is there a way we can show that?
I don't know. It's quite fast, I think.
Yeah. And is it? Can we create preset playlists? So the PolyBrute Connect gives you a lot of flexibility to reorganize presets, build some playlists, and then rename the presets and then send them to the PolyBrute. The PolyBrute itself doesn't really have like preset organization features directly on it. You can save, you can reorganize, but you don't really have a lot of flexibility. But just plug a USB cable and you can do everything. It's so much easier to do with the mouse anyway.
All right, can you send CV into the expression inputs? I don't know, how many questions do we have? I'm just wondering. It's great. I mean,
5 more. I've never seen that many questions. It's nice to see a lot of interest on this instrument.
Okay, can send CV into the expression inputs. What does that mean? Do you get that?
I think it's doable, but you have to let's say change the format to adapt it. It's not. I don't think you can just plug a modular in it. You have to shape it.
It's unipolar.
Yep.
It's going to be unipolar. It's going to be slower. I mean, it's sampled, so you can't. It's digitally sampled, so you can't have like an oscillator and expect it to do modulations in the matrix. But you can do some stuff. Yeah.
It's the only way to get CV in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Morph affects everything in split mode, or can it be made independent?
Well, in split mode, the lower part will always play the A sound, and the upper part will play the morphed sound. So if you're in B,
between A and B,
you have A and B.
Is the real-time sequencing quantized to step? Yes, it is. The sequencer is quantized to steps. Yeah. What is the knob resolution? How many bits?
12 bits.
12 bits.
Yeah.
Correct strategy of having an open ecosystem of digital FX OSC across the lineup is cool. Any change we could find this on Arturia's hybrid and digital products? Yeah, we're looking at this sort of things as well, for sure. I mean, it's great to be able to offer more and also to factorize some development for several products. So it makes sense. Of course, it's a bit different here, except for the effects, as we mentioned. But yes, for sort of hybrid instruments, this is something we're looking at as well. Can the pick A, pick B, or swap A and B functions be controlled via Midi? Pick, that will be fun.
Right, not now, but
not right now.
Haven't thought about that. So
right now, no, but this is something we could. I mean, technically, is it something feasible to just pick through Midi?
Yeah,
okay.
Why not?
I guess.
Interesting. So we could change preset. Yeah. Okay. All right. Is that the last question? Okay, great. Yeah. So thank you. I mean, you bear with us for quite some time. Thank you very much for all the good questions and the interest. Is there anything you want to add before we end this live stream?
I've been working on this for more than 3 years. I still love it. Just saying that.
Yeah, I just love that instrument. Honestly, and it's nice to do these live shows and try to just tell you guys how much fun it is to work on this. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of questions, but in the end, when you get to show an instrument like this, it's a great pleasure.
Yeah, it's been really a lot about passion, I think. I mean, technical, musical, I mean, all those integration discussions have been great, and yes, challenges as well, but very, very happy to be showing the PolyBrute today. Excited to know that it's going to be in the hands of some of you in the future and hear what you're going to do with that. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for being with us today. This is PolyBrute, and take care of yourself. We'll be back with other live streams. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.